Hey guys, it's Matt. Making this video for a few reasons. The Super Bowl was yesterday, and leading up to the Super Bowl for at least 4 or 5 months, there have been a ton of videos, things buzzing all over the internet about how the NFL is rigged, faked, or at least outcomes are directed, with certain people, players, refs being in on it. Excuse me. I want to address those things, and it will be next to impossible to address those things talking to the people that generally come to this channel a lot, that see, as I do, the basic reality breakdown that's going on outside of our window. Nothing seems to make sense anymore. And then, because of the nature of this video, it will probably attract all of those people who are pointing fingers at the NFL saying, look how rigged it is, look how scripted it is, but who've never spent time in other areas of what we call the reality breakdowns. So am I going to be able to have them understand any bit of what I'm saying? Probably not, but I hope this inspires them to look under a few other rocks. Just start with the basics. Everybody pointing fingers at the NFL. Is it rigged, faked, or outcomes scripted in some way? Yes, but not for the reason, in my opinion, all these people examining the NFL, looking for players faking it and looking for players fudging it and refs making bad calls on purpose. It's fake to a degree, or scripted to a degree, but not for the reasons or in the way these people think it is. To me, it's fake or scripted or faux, or outcomes are directed simply because all of reality is becoming the same way. I don't think the NFL can isolate itself from the general reality tidal wave that's going on. And for anybody new to this that thinks I've just completely lost my mind, give me a few minutes to perhaps get you to see things a little bit differently. You turn on the news, to those that spend time at this channel and similar channels, it's like a reality breakdown. The presentation of what they call news is comical. It's nonsensical. It's an absolute joke. It doesn't add up. You have 2.5 years of Russians hacked the election, Russians hacked the election, Russians hacked the election. I mean, you just have a presentation of what should be considered news that isn't at all believable. And it certainly, whether it was believable or not 20 or 25 years ago, the presentation of it was more believable. It was more serious. This is happening, what we call in these circles, reality breakdowns, has happening all over the place. Music, the Gucci Gang guy. All he does is say Gucci Gang, Gucci Gang, Gucci Gang. That's all he does. But there's millions and millions and millions of views. The guy on the Super Bowl last night, the guy in the black guy in the big fur coat. That's not music. I like some rap. The old NWA and the old Snoop Dogg when he was with what's his name? The guy that was in NWA. I mean, I like some old rap. And when I used to listen to Run DMC when I was in fifth grade. I mean, but this isn't music. Okay, so you have a breakdown in music. Gucci Gang, Gucci Gang. That's all he says. Where are today's the Beatles, or where's the great music that was produced of yesteryear? So you have it in news, you have it in music. Obviously, you have it in politics. I mean, who could look at Donald Trump, this character actor that is a theater of the absurd, and believe it's real? It's a joke. Nobody would tweet out all this offensive stuff. He's playing a role. He's fulfilling a script. Now, anybody wandering upon this video is going to think I'm absolutely crazy. And all I can hope for anybody stumbling upon this is just I touch your imagination or your ability to question just in one little area. I get you thinking in ways you haven't been thinking before. So things wherever we look, okay, are not adding up. Wherever we look. Baseball players now are trying to get $350 million contracts. Manny Machado and the other guy are playing the Phillies off at other teams. $350 million. on its way to a billion for. I mean, I was talking with someone say, well, how many fans have to come in and sit in the seats for how many games for even to cover that salary? It's there's reality breakdowns going on all over the place, and the Mandela affected are in their own world on this. I mean, I'm not even going to go there. I mean, that takes it to a whole new level. Not everybody sees it, and those that don't see it are very triggered by it. So I'm not going to talk about it. But why would we think football's different? See what I'm saying? Why would football be in its own little bubble and it's just everything is completely legitimate, everything's completely real, everything over here is breaking down. Oh, this isn't believable. This is a presentation of reality that makes no sense anymore. The way NASA presents what they're trying to do in space, that's a reality breakdown. It's an absolute joke. You just go joke, 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 comical, 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 absurd, absurd, absurd. But over here, this is a real game. Everything's real. No, it's in the same huge bucket. It's in the same reality bucket. If all of it's being flushed, the NFL's being flushed. So the people that I will give these people credit. The people that are making these videos who are gigantic NFL fans saying, I've had it with the NFL, I know this play was fake or that this was a scripted outcome or this doesn't look right. I give them applause because this is a microcosm of what's happening across all of reality. Everything's breaking down in the same way. I don't think anybody's ever tied it together like I'm trying to do now. So the people that study the NFL, I give them credit because there's a lot of it that does stink. Let's just talk about the things that absolutely stinks that would lead one to believe that it's fixed, scripted outcomes, rigged, whatever you want to call it. But what I'm saying is, in a way, that's happening in the NFL because it's happening everywhere. It's happening in all aspects of reality all around us. But it's not for the reasons these people are. They're just analyzing it in their little box. They're NFL experts. They don't even watch the news. They don't see the connections. It's not for the first grade conspiracy reasons that or we would call them kindergarten reasons. It's not just for the money. The group that flip over your dollar bill, the group in control here doesn't need money. It's not for the money. It's not for the ratings. Well, they're going to negotiate a new contract with NBC. No, it's not for. These are trivial little pissant material reasons. There's a whole fabric of reality going on behind the scenes. Matrix code these people can't even read. It's not about those surface level issues. It is gigantic ratings and money a nice tertiary benefit? Of course it is. Of course, but it's not about money anymore. When you have a tool like the NFL, a tool of the system that in some way can capture the attention of about 1 billion people on this earth. They're expanding internationally. They have a big game in Mexico City. They have a big game in London. At some point, maybe it's just for a brief moment. It's not like diehard Chicago Bears or Philadelphia Eagles fans that just study every aspect of fantasy football. In some way, it grabs the attention of 1 billion people on Earth. Now that is a tool that the system wields that is irreplaceable. It's worth much more than money. There's much more going on here than just about ratings. You don't get it if you're at that surface level, okay? And I'm not talking to the old guard here that understand. I'm talking to hopefully some new people I'll be attracting in the metrics or the way I put in my keywords here, etc. So they're never, people that break these games down, they sniff out it's fake because there's a lot that looks ridiculous. Let's just go over a few things. Drew Brees breaking the all-time passing record this year looked ridiculous. It did. His family's ushered down on the field. It's the end of the first half is coming to an end. 2.5 minutes left in the first half. His family's coming on the field because he's getting close to breaking the passing record. But is he getting close? He's 60 yards away. But here comes the family on the field. Well, is he going to do it with 2 minutes left in the first half? And somebody that absolutely believes that everything about the NFL is scripted and rigged would say, yeah, they need to do it in the first half because people go to bed, and they do. It gets very late very quickly in the East, and first half Monday Night Football, second half ratings totally drop off in the East, no doubt about it. Millions of people turn off and go to bed at halftime. Games sometimes go to midnight. So the announcers start talking about it, the passing record. And well, of course, Matt, or of course, you jerk, whoever's making this video, of course they're going to start talking about it. But he wasn't that close to it. It wasn't like he had 8 yards, and then they start talking about it and he had 60 yards, if I remember correctly. He had a long way to go. So they just start talking about it, and drops back to pass. Receiver runs a route towards the end zone. Drew Brees throws a bomb to a guy that's wide open. No one's covering him. And then the safety, I believe it was the Redskins, comes over to try to make a tackle on the guy who caught the ball, completely takes the wrong angle, misses him. It was absolutely looked fake. It looked scripted. It was absurd. Then they stop the game. They give Drew Brees a big plaque, all these hugs and kisses. The band plays. This is the middle of the game. They stop because he broke the all-time passing record, I guess was held by Peyton Manning. So I know that it's confusing to a few people that are stumbling upon this video going, well, what's with all the Bodhisattva stuff and the metaphysical mumbo-jumbo you're presenting if you're just saying it's fake? I'm saying it's not that simple. The answer in almost anything anymore is not that simple. It's just not. There are other aspects of the NFL that stinks. How about the Rams-Saints missed call, the missed interference 2 weeks ago? You have comes to mind for me what I really thought stunk. The LA Chargers defense against the Ravens 3 or 4 weeks ago was incredible. Just beat them up. Beat them up at the line of scrimmage. And then the next week against Brady, it was like they didn't do anything. Brady just scored 4 touchdowns. Where was the defense? It looked like the defense was in on it, or they were told to stand down a bit. I agree it looked like that, but it can't be that simple. It just can't be, okay? So speaking to all the people that break down all the plays about how the NFL is completely fake and it's more like the WWE and the WWF and it's scripted and the players are all in on it, it can't be, okay? It just can't be. People that say all the players are in on it, they've never played sports. It wouldn't look like football. It just wouldn't look like football. Does wrestling at WWE, is there anybody that ever thought that was a real fight? You've been in a real fight. No, it doesn't. Go watch a real fight or a barroom brawl or MMA, the octagon or whatever it is, where they punch each other almost with bare fists. I forget the name of that sport. I don't watch too much of it. I have watched it in the past, but that's real fighting. That doesn't look like the WWF or the WWE. If it's all fake and all the players are in on it, it would never be presented as real. It would break down as a joke within 5 minutes. So people that say all the players are in on it have no idea what they're talking about. They've never played sports. Now, do they want certain outcomes? In my opinion, yes, the league does. Do they push for certain outcomes? In my opinion, yes, the league does. But not just because of the first grade reasons that the people studying or trying to break down fake NFL believe it to be. Just about ratings, about money. No, you get into all sorts of darker reasons related to the occult. I'm not an expert in those areas, and I certainly don't want to immediately turn off anybody that's new to these types of subjects who's just watching this video because they sense something fishy about the NFL. They don't like the game that's being played. They sense it's rigged. So let me just present. I've got to get to this sooner or later. If they're directing outcomes, it's not for money. I mean, they would never put forth a turd of a Super Bowl. If it's fake, what are they doing with the Super Bowl yesterday? It was horrible. Millions of people turned that game off. Millions before the first half, or they just went back to their party. It was a horrendous game, almost the entire game, up until the fourth quarter. One of, if not the worst, football games of any magnitude, like a bowl game, ever played. Horrible. So if NFL's rigged and scripted and the players are in on it, you would never produce the turd of a product that you put up yesterday. Okay? However, so if I'm saying it does appear that there's certain outcomes that the NFL wants, but 98% of the players couldn't be in on it. They have no idea. It just wouldn't look like football. You could have Brady. Why is he out there taking creepy pictures, covering the right eye? Research right eye symbolism around Brady. Even Brady's put those pictures out. You would just need a player like Brady. You would need coaches, a few refs. You just need a few people if you want to direct an outcome. And you need to probably influence the direction of the tide, or influence the direction of the way the water's flowing a few times in the game to get the outcome you want. I don't know if anybody's ever watched a lot of tennis, but it's all the supercomputers have it all figured out. And if this sounds ridiculously conspiratorial, it'll all make sense in a minute. There's no conspiracy here. Let me explain. When, say, Rafael Nadal's about to play Roger Federer, IBM used to sponsor these tennis matches, and it would say the Watson supercomputer, IBM Watson, still using the same name as the supercomputers that put the logistics together for Adolf Hitler. Excuse me, the nose itch. That's a reality breakdown in and of itself. But if I stray too much, how many people am I going to lose? Watson would say if for Nadal to win, he has to, for example, make 60% of his first serves in, and he has to return 52% of Roger Federer's second serves. The supercomputer would give two metrics that are seemingly unrelated to each other than the fact that a tennis match is being played. And if he can do those two things or surpass those two metrics in two unrelated areas, then the supercomputer knows Nadal he has a 94% chance of winning the match. And it knows. It's looked at every single shot he's ever made, every single head-to-head matchup. It knows. And it knows the same thing about football. The supercomputer knows if the Patriots play the Rams 10 times without any influence at all, the Patriots are going to win 6 out of 10, for example. So the supercomputer knows if the current of the water is directed just a bit 4 times with a key call, or a coach not putting in a certain defense, or a player, one of a few players that could be involved in any shenanigans, like Brady. I don't trust him as far as I could throw him. I hate him. I don't like any part about Tom Brady. He gives me I get the creeps when I look at him. He's posing with his one eye symbolism pictures, and he does a certain thing at a certain time. So the supercomputer spits out, if we can get 4 things to favor the Patriots, for example, then the chances of them winning goes to 98%, and they'll take that. Now, if maybe they had those same 4 metrics against the Eagles last year, and could they have counted on a backup quarterback being perfect? Could they have counted on a trick play in the end zone being executed perfectly, the pass being thrown by a backup tight end? It seemed like everything went perfectly for the Eagles last year. Brandon Graham reaching out. And again, the people that say the players are all in on it, it's scripted, have no idea what they're talking about, in my opinion. Now, I know I've abandoned the whole metaphysical reality conversation, and now I'm talking like everything on the field's real, and I'll try to tie it together the best I can. This isn't easy. But but you understand that they can't do any more to influence than having a few key people involved that just push the water in a certain direction. Because I should have gotten to this earlier. They just can't, if players were in on it, first of all, these guys are not that smart. Okay? A lot of the NFL, a lot of people that come out of Alabama and Clemson, they don't graduate those universities. Like Alabama, when you produce that sort of level of football, they're not taking applied engineering and economics classes and physics. They're not. There's a whole, any sort of major athletic university has classes kind of set up for athletes. We used to call one rocks for jocks. I took it because I was a business major at Penn State. I had to take an elective, and I just, my semester was so hard. I had this calculus class. I had no idea what I was doing with the math. I had to take rocks for jocks. They put the rocks up on the table, like this isn't gold, it's pyrite, fool's gold. And then we went out and took a field trip to see the rocks. It wasn't that difficult. You had to learn maps, topography of maps. It wasn't as easy as I thought, but it was not difficult. So not only are these guys not graduating, they're not taking really difficult classes at the university. So they're staying eligible by maintaining, say, a 2.0. And I'm sure the real powerhouses like Alabama, I'm sure these classes are a joke. It's more about football than anything else. So you just can't be in the national championship hunt every single year if everything academically is absolutely on the up and up. Look at Notre Dame, how they've fallen off. They've fallen off probably because they maintain a degree of academic standards. Now, let me get back to the point. These guys come out of these schools. They're not, and what immediately they get the money, they get the sports car, they do the Allen Iverson thing, they have the posse, the bling. They're not. Is this the group you really want to trust? Your multi-billion dollar franchise, global franchise you're taking global with players being in on it, or now you don't cover him. You let it. I mean, it would end up immediately looking like a bad WWF or WWE. They couldn't. And they're so somebody would tweet about it or something. They couldn't keep it quiet. These guys are not that smart. If anything, you have just a Brady and a few players. Again, the supercomputer knows if they play 10 times who's going to win 6 or 7 out of 10. And maybe if they really want a certain outcome, they'll say to the 5 or 6 people involved, we need to do 5 major events to influence and get the outcome we want. But that's all it is. It's like it's directing the direction of a sailboat with a giant fan that's 100 yards away. It's not just directly pushing the sailboat where you want it to go. They couldn't afford to be that blatant or that obvious. Somebody would just do something really, really stupid, like what it almost looked like with the Drew Brees breaking the passing record. One obvious fake thing, just one, they could lose hundreds of millions of viewers. You understand the risk, they just simply can't take the risk. And if they do these 4 or 5 things and they don't get the outcome they want, well, they'll live with that. Potentially like the Eagles, Patriots in the Super Bowl last year. They'll live with it because they can't afford to ever possibly afford being exposed. Now, if it's being rigged, manipulated, to me, that's the only way they can be doing it. Why would the officials work for the league? They're employees of the league. They're handpicked by Roger Goodell. Of course they could all be in on it. Every official could be. Whatever the NFL wants, they use the officials. The coaches work for the owners. They buddy up with the players, and it's all, I'm the leader of this army, but they are just minions of the ownership in the league itself. So if they need to fudge a game or have something go in a certain direction, I don't know exactly what's going on. To me, little old Matt, reality's breaking down all around me. I'm just trying to make sense of what's potentially happened in the NFL and try to help some people think about some things in a different way. But the coaches, when we look at Roger Goodell, would we think, well, would he want to, what does he make, $50 to $70 million a year? That's a reality breakdown. How is that possible? A commissioner of the NFL would make that kind of money. What could he be doing to be worth that kind of money? Nothing's worth that kind of money. Nothing. And he makes 50, 60, or 70 million a year. I don't think I'm wrong about that. I haven't looked at it for a while. He's hated around the league. He goes to the draft at Philadelphia and 5,000 fans boo him. You can hear it on TV. Introducing the first pick in the draft will be Roger Goodell. The Philly fans, boo! They hate his guts. Well, why wouldn't the owners, if everything was real and something else isn't going on, why would the owners, why wouldn't they get together if you're Robert Kraft or whatever, talking to Jeffrey Lurie of the Eagles, go, we're not going to up this guy's contract. He's hated. He's hated in every city he goes to. What's he doing for the NFL to be worth that kind of money, and that the ownership puts up with the fact that he's hated. Oh, he's just so that good with the players union. He's just so good. You look at him, he's not likable. When he has a press conference about, for example, the missed call, the Rams versus the Saints, he's not smooth. He doesn't make it all better by saying the right things. He's not likable. So what's he doing? What is this dark figure really doing? I'm saying there are things about the essence or nature of reality itself we don't even understand. Does that sound ridiculously conspiratorial to newbies? Of course it does. But if it does, you simply haven't put the years and years of study in that the people at this channel have. You understand what I'm saying. How is it possible, if the world were real, how could the NFL be a non-profit? Operate as a non-profit, if I have that correctly. Typically, if one of your employees makes $70 million a year, that should kind of, if anything were real in this world, that would kind of preclude you from saying you're a non-profit. I believe I have that right. It's almost like I'm afraid to look at it because what I'd find would disgust me so much. But I believe it does operate as a non-profit, as the PGA, the golf does. It's just, when you look at these things, folks, it tells you the world is a construct. Most everything isn't real. It breaks down when given close examination. So the main point of this video is, do they want a certain outcome? Is there ways they can manipulate the boat and the tide? Yes. But it's not for the reasons, these little people examining the NFL, it's not for the reasons they think, oh, it's just about the money and the betting and that's not even kindergarten level understanding of how the reality works. If you want to just sniff it a little bit, sniff it, related to yesterday's Super Bowl, you get into all the conspiracy channels will break down the halftime show and show you all the ways they showed you the Luciferian influence in the halftime show and the occult. And I used to do all that stuff too. It's a waste of time. Excuse me, I have another itch. This happens when I talk this long. I need a nose hair specialist. I used to break down and look at those halftime shows too, and look at the occult symbolism. It's all pissed on breadcrumbs. It's all nonsense. You'll have people making videos today saying, what's that guy? Adam Levine took his shirt off. It said California, so I guess California is the next state where there's going to be a major cataclysm. It's going to plunge into the Pacific. California tattooed across his chest. And I don't bother with. That's just nonsense, what they present to us at the halftime show. Pissed on breadcrumbs. I'm not bothering with it. But if you want to, what I'm saying is, if you sniff out that the something else is going on with the halftime show, it's meant to influence or lead billions of people or a billion people that might come across it around the world in a certain direction. I applaud you because you're looking in different places. You're looking at reality in a different way. Something that popped out to me was when they had Malkovich John Malkovich doing a little skit before the Super Bowl came on with Peyton Manning, and it was very strange, and it actually was a little bit funny. It could have been a disaster. They kind of pulled it off, but there's John Malkovich, standing in the Roman Colosseum, and I mean, again, this is just first grade symbolism, but it was just obvious. The people in my circles have always linked that the modern NFL is simply Rome carrying forth its Colosseum of gladiators, bread, and circuses, and we know that's what it is, but they just put it right in our face with Malkovich standing in the Roman Colosseum as a direct metaphor for this is what your today's NFL is for the masses and the asses in the stands, and we'll throw them the bread and we'll keep them numb and dull of mind and numb of mind with their beer and the substances, and it was just right, it was right in our face with Malkovich standing in the Roman Colosseum to begin the Super Bowl. If you just turned it on at kickoff, you didn't see that, but it was obvious. So if you put some of those connections together, and I'm not talking to the the old guard here. I'm talking to people that might stumble upon this video. Then that's good. That's kindergarten. That's just getting a sense as to how this world or this reality really works. To me, the NFL, if all of reality is breaking down and the reality script is becoming comical, like on the news, for example, the NFL is looking the same way because it's caught up in the same wave. Everything's breaking down, becoming kind of nonsensical or comical. So, but I do think, I've recently been going back to, don't try to look at it too closely. Just notice in general what's going on. Don't look at the who, what, when, where, why, and how, because you'll never find all those breadcrumbs. See, you'll never find it in reality itself. How 9/11 was executed, for example. If there's one person here that believes that 19 guys with box cutters did it, please, please investigate. Open your mind to different things. If this is all breaking down, then the NFL is not making sense in the same way. But if you look at it too closely, the people that look at the NFL, they're going to just find the one play where a player is too obvious that, oh, I want to guard this guy, but I'll pretend I didn't see him and he'll run by for the touchdown. See, we never find the golden egg in looking at fake reality over here. So I don't think we're ever going to find the golden egg in looking at fake reality over here in the NFL. So these guys that are looking and looking and looking, do you really ever, I mean, just what does your inner knowing tell you? Do you ever think there's going to be that one play that's just so obvious, so fake, that you can then record it, put it on your iPad, and take it to all your friends and say, look, and they're all going to go, yeah, you know what, now I think the NFL's fixed. I'll never watch another game. And the whole multi-billion dollar empire will just collapse. Do you think they would ever have a scenario where that could happen? Inner knowing, we all know that's just not going to, we're never going to have that one play that's so ridiculously fake. Hey, the Drew Brees passing record, it hovered in that vicinity. But there, it's not a regular season game, a passing record. Nobody's paying much attention. It's not the stakes of a playoff game or a Super Bowl. It's just, you're never going to find that breadcrumb. People researching, quote, fake NFL, so stop looking for it. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. If it's going to happen in the NFL, it would have happened over here in all the things that we crazies look at. The reality breakdowns over here. It's always, this reality is when it shows you the fake side of it, it's subtle. Okay, it's subtle. It's something we can see, but you give it to your neighbor, they can't see it. It's always subtle. So the NFL, in my opinion, is going to act just like the other aspects of reality that we look at. It's not going to show you that one fake play that you can latch onto, then convince everybody down your block it's fake. It's not going to happen. It would be interesting if it would, but it's not going to happen. And it's not going to happen for surface level reasons that where some people watching this think I'm going, like, yeah, if that would happen, if all the players were in on it. It's not going to happen on surface level reasons. It's not going to happen because that's not the way this whole reality works. Whatever's generating this reality, it doesn't work like that. It wouldn't allow that. Okay, and I understand that's very hard to grasp for some people stumbling upon this video. But in summary, applaud the people looking at the NFL that something's just not quite right. They sniff it. They're right. Something's not quite right. But they would need to move back 30,000 feet to have an understanding of what potentially is going on. If they're right next to it, oh, it's just about making more money. No. Nope. It's not it. Hope that was somewhat interesting. Again, these are exercises in thinking big. Many times there's no conclusion. Just an exercise in thinking differently and thinking big.